And welcome to this very educational and professional PowerPoint presentation. Today's topic is on the Jewish festival of Purim, and I'm your host, Tammy Sussman. Let's begin. The story of Purim, or the Book of Esther, begins in a palace in Persia when King Ahasuerus declares a 6-month drinking feast for the army of Persia. Yes, 6-month drinking feast, bitches! Now, the king's wife Vashti, of course, organised a separate drinking feast for the soldiers' wives, and all the A-list Persian celebs and wannabes attended. The 6-month celebration concluded with a 7-day drinking binge for the rich and poor, and it was at this feast that King Ahasuerus got sloshed and ordered his wife Vashti to strip naked for him and his buddies. And Vashti was like, "What kind of a queen do you take me for?" And the king was like, "Well, it was your idea to make a sex tape." And the queen was like, "Touché." Now, rabbis of the Oral Torah have noted that stripping naked was something Vashti would have ordinarily wanted to do, but due to a skin condition, potentially on her vagina, she refuses to do so. King Ahasuerus is not impressed. In fact, Vashti's refusal prompts him to have her removed from her post and executed, Marie Antoinette style. Yes, Marie Antoinette style. It doesn't take long before King Ahasuerus starts feeling a little lonely and orders all the young women to be presented to him so he can choose a new queen to replace Vashti. And he's like, yes, that one. Bring her to me. Esther. Bit of context, bit of background. Esther was a beautiful young lady who was orphaned at a young age and was being fostered by her uncle Mordecai. Some rabbinic commentators state that she was actually Mordecai's wife, since the Torah permits an uncle to marry his niece, and that's how people rolled back then. Appropriate. Now, as you might have guessed, Mordecai and Esther are actually Jewish, but Uncle Morty warns Esther not to tell the king about her faith in case he's anti-Semitic and changes his mind. So, Esther becomes queen and wonders what the hell her wardrobe people are smoking, hooks up a mate, and gets Uncle Morty a job on the palace gate security. Meanwhile, King Ahasuerus appoints a guy called Haman as his chief minister. Now, Haman has a habit of being a dickhead, wearing flamboyant hats and making people bow down to him. But Uncle Morty refuses to bow down every single time. And Haman's like, "What's with you?" And Morty's like, "In my religion, it's forbidden to bow down to douchebags." Having discovered that Mordecai is Jewish, Haman plans to kill not just Mordecai, but the entire Jewish minority in the empire. He's a real Hitler type, this guy. After obtaining Ahasuerus' permission and funds to execute this plan, Haman casts lots, otherwise known as Purim in Hebrew, to choose the date on which to do this, and King Ahasuerus announces it to the kingdom, possibly on a shitty breakfast radio program. And all the Jews in the village are like, "Well, here we go again." But Uncle Morty doesn't take shit from anyone. No. He instructs Queen Esther to reveal her Jewish identity to King Ahasuerus. Now, this is frightening for Esther because back then, queens weren't allowed to just, send texts to the king saying, "We need to talk." Queens could get killed for talking to the king without his permission. Hey, back then, queens could get killed for having a rash, as you know. Queen Esther was so scared that she couldn't even eat for a whole day. Okay, maybe she could eat, and she just chose not to, because not eating meant feeling skinny, and feeling skinny made her feel powerful. A psychological conundrum that was then passed down to Jewish women for centuries to come. Queen Esther just sat around the palace thinking about what she'd say to King Ahasuerus, and what she'd eat once she'd said it. Luckily, King Ahasuerus was in a good mood that night. Perhaps because he just watched a golden rerun from Seinfeld. It's just an option. So when Queen Esther knocked on his door in her most serious outfit, King Ahasuerus was most obliging to listen to her worries. Queen Esther told the king that she was Jewish and pointed out that Haman's decree would mean that she would have to die too. The king was deeply moved by Queen Esther's admission. Perhaps he was also turned on by how fucking gorgeous she looks when she cries. and enraged when he learned that Haman had intended to kill his wife and her family, he ordered that Haman be murdered. No, not this time, Sai. I'm pretty certain he was hanged. More like hangman style. Yeah, good one. Completely relieved that his wife's life had been spared and always up for a party, King Ahasuerus declared another feast where everyone came in fancy dress and got smashed. This tradition has survived and is observed today with whole families dressing up on Purim. Yeah, I was going to do that. With whole families dressing up on Purim. How about that? And I don't know, just getting drunk together to celebrate. To celebrate Esther's victory, I suppose. Check out SpongeBob in the front row. Woo! Some people also fast the day before Purim in honor of the bravery of Esther. Some Jews might also go to shul and listen to the story of Purim be read out from the Megillah. They are also encouraged to make noise using gregors when Haman's name is mentioned. Jews are also supposed to give friends, family, acquaintances, and poor people a food basket to ensure that everyone has enough food for the Purim feast held later in the day as a counter to Haman's propaganda that the Jewish people are characterized by conflict and tight-assedness. And finally, everyone's favorite, Hamantaschen, an edible pastry fashioned in the shape of Haman's flamboyant hat. By eating the Hamantaschen, the Jews can be like, hey, Haman, you tried to kill us, and now I'm eating your hat. So, take that. Yes, you may have noticed the resemblance between these Hamantaschen and Vashti's Vajrash. Flashback. So while many Jews think it'd be cute to dress their kids up as a Hamantaschen, the general public are like, is that a mother and daughter vagina duo? Weird. And on that note, from everyone here at Sussmania, we wish you a very happy Purim, and as always, happy overeating. Okay, sure. At Sussmania Sydney is my Twitter. You can like my Facebook page, Sussmania. Okay, Command, Control,